All right, members, let's take a look at these Cradle-to-Grave trades, the three here that are grouped together that we've been looking at. One is Kinder Morgan. I'll get it on a daily here. We actually picked up a buy right at the bottom on Thursday. What I was looking at there and what I was trying to do was, you know, you've got this swing point high here that's a bullish retest regen. So as price comes back to this area, because it's more than 6 bars, it's almost certainly going to be bought when it happens, right? And so as this retraces, we know that it's probably going to get bought right towards the top of that zone somewhere, or at least it should. So you can buy as it comes back to that area. Now, why did I pick 17? I was looking at this range here. You know, I was just looking at this range that it's been trading in. You know, it's a $2 range on a 17 stock. That's a pretty good, you know, that's a pretty good percentage. You know, it's not going to make you a fortune, but it's certainly worth looking at and trading. I mean, 11% is 11%. So if you can get anywhere near the bottom and you know, take some at the top, you're going to be pushing 7, 8, 9% moves, and that's not a bad trade when you know this market has got your back underneath, or at least it should. So that's the trade. That's what we did. That's how we got into it. So we've added back now. We sold higher. We've added back. We're going to see what it does on the way back up. Now, I'm not particularly bullish on oil right now. I think the oil is probably topping short term. And so again, this to me is another trade, nothing but a trade really on this time frame. Now if we move to the weekly time frame, you can see the little pullback here. Again, the same sort of thing. You're coming to this big bar. It's kind of a little ledge up here that's starting to form. Top of that big bar, 1745. The bottom of this breakdown bar, 1656. So if you're looking for an area, right, that's the area to be trying to buy in that zone right there. And so that's a little bit above where the TA today charts are showing you. Of course, the ideal entry is back here, but the more aggressive entry is up there at the highs of this bar, low of the prior bar, which was the breakdown bar. That's KMI. Most of those oil pipeline stocks are set up pretty much the same way. Now, turning our attention to the S&P 500, since you know, I have the short attempt going on there. On the daily chart, right, you come back over. You've got some little prior bars, in particular this one, right, a little bit of a wide price spread bar, not a big one, but a little bit of one. Nothing significant here in the way this is going. It's just trying to pull back, and if we look at the weekly, you'll see it, and I talked about it on the weekend broadcast if you didn't catch it. You got an angle of ascent here that doesn't make any sense, right? You had a double bottom right here and there, so you came down, you tested, you couldn't get under it, you had less volume. That leads to the fast push. It comes back down, test into that area, right, which leads to another fast push, another attempt to test into this bar, another fast push, right, a little bit slower, and then continuation. And now we're starting to see that same sort of a pullback like we've seen before. The question is how deep will it get, right, and what does it look like when it turns? And as I showed on the weekly show, you actually have 2-bar reversals here on the weekly, right? We have this fast extension to the upside, compressed time, wide price, right? Volume's lower, big extension, fast. That's a 2-bar reversal, and that says this thing should try to come back. If you go back and you look at this breakdown bar, the top of that bar was 2038. We got into it and then tried to reverse out of it, stayed in it, 2035.94. So we're in that bar. I expect we're going to try to come back deeper. Where we're going to try to come back to is probably this bar, this low. That's the 193 area. And that to me is the ideal spot to try to lift the short, right, flip around and get long potentially. So that's the way that looks. And then if, of course, you put it over on the 3-to-1, you'll see the same sort of pattern with a little bit of a distortion given the day-to-day compounding that takes place in those. Finally, if we look at the last of these 3 trades, it was the UUP, and I did an outright short on it. Now, it got a reversal on Thursday itself, right? So it's an over-under. Now it's not a 2-bar, but it's an over-under, but the direction of the trend is down, right? So that helps a 2-bar. So we could see that rollover begin to take place. The key bars to watch on the way down is here, and then again this swing point low. The bad thing about what this did was it did get back over the bearish retest region. That usually says that more than likely this thing is going to try to trade sideways on this time frame, right? So we can't expect it to get much lower if it does. So we actually have to think about trying to take some profits into a retrace, either into this bar or that bar, or that little zone, right, that's in that zone right there. So that's where we'll be looking at it. We got a good entry, you know, it's 20, I think it was 91 or 92, so we got an entry into this bar. And so I expect that we'll see an attempt to take it out either there or the bottom of this, and just make some small profits on it. It's not going to be a big trade. So that's the way those three wrap up. That's where they're at. Just want to bring you up to date, and that's it. Thanks.